GM, welcome back to the channel. In this one, the main update around the stablecoin act called the Genius Act in the US and what this is going to mean, because this is a very large bit of legislation that's going to be positively impactful for crypto more broadly. But we'll just kick things off here before we jump into that with BTC. You can see it's at 104,600s. There is continued war rhetoric and a bit of a market sell-off, I think, to do with that, but also we have the FOMC a bit later. So we'll touch on these things, but the main meat and potatoes. Genius Act summarized. So what does this mean? Well, essentially the US are going to allow for stablecoins to be kind of allowed to be issued by many different entities. And you're going to see all the banks have them, possibly like Amazon have them. And it makes a lot of sense, right? If you've got a stablecoin, you can use it for payments very quickly, around the clock, 24/7, 365. There's no intermediary. So we have less fees. So you'll pay like network fees versus, if you're paying on Visa, 2%, 3%, all these kind of fees that just eat away at profitability are no longer there with stablecoins. So obviously we have a superior product with dollar stables. And so it makes sense that legacy finance capitulates into this. And this is one of the many steps on the road to that becoming the reality here, which is just patently obvious that it'll work out. So essentially, stablecoin issuers can then buy short-dated US treasuries, so buying up the US debt, and thus this is beneficial for the US. As you're seeing, countries like China no longer buy so much US debt, and so this is going to plug a huge gap. This could mean down here in the reds, Treasury can block non-compliant foreign stablecoins, so you might see this bifurcation of USDT serving kind of outside of America, and a lot of upcoming nations, as that has dominance in those kind of regions, and then maybe some more domestic stablecoins and USDC thriving in the US of A. So this is obviously bullish for crypto, and it's giving the real green light for proliferation of stablecoins. Bullish for Aave, Uniswap, Curve Finances of this world, and others. But these were the words of Treasury Sec Scott Besson. He says, stablecoins could grow to a 3.7 trillion market by the end of the decade. And I think he's put more of a short-term kind of projection on like 2 trillion in the not too distant future. Now, if you just look at stablecoin growth here, we're at 251 bill. So it's a 4x even to get to the first trillion. The first trillion is the hardest I hear. But it's up like a hockey stick. Huge growth for stablecoins. Like, you must be sleeping under a rock if you haven't heard that the main kind of takeaways this cycle have been stablecoin dominance, Saylor promoting the Bitcoin treasury strategy, and then you've had pockets of performance from random altcoins, and we've obviously had the meme cycle and an AI cycle within there as well. But these are the main big stories and drivers of the market. So what he's saying is this will be a win-win for everyone if the bill is passed, which it now pretty much has got the final, go to market, because I think it's just awaiting Trump to officially sign it off now. Bullish for the private sector, for the treasury, and for consumers. So kind of bipartisan backing of this one, because it's just in the US benefits. You're going to see US dominance via its USD, its currency, across the globe. So this is obviously bullish, and it means more dry powder in the market more broadly as well, because more stablecoins will be on-chain and able to buy crypto assets as well. So I think this will be a big moment as we look back in the history books of crypto, and I think this will just continue going up and up and up the market cap of stables. Now we have Saylor, who added a huge DCA of 1 billion and 50 mil this week. So his strategy continues, and this is the treasury strategy being proliferated right now by many companies. Even this week you hear the likes of Trump's Media Corp getting approval for like a 2.3 billion Bitcoin purchase, so that's kind of been sanctioned now. You have even Anthony Pompliano, probably a top signal, a local top signal, raising funds for his own investment arm into BTC as well. So a lot of cool things happening in the background here, which, even if we do break below, say like, so Cram's analysis currently is that we're probably going to test these lows here at around 100K and maybe break below them into the 90s yet again. But personally, if that happens, I think that's a major, major opportunity in the market right now. You're seeing capitulation as well from big banks. Spain's second largest bank now is saying to its wealthy investors, time to start allocating into BTC. Everyone is after Satoshis here. So pretty crazy stuff. Obviously this feels kind of like a honeymoon phase with everyone adopting Bitcoin, but I think this is a major market driver. And yeah, I'm not fearful of a dip. If a dip comes, that is an opportunity. Personally though, I am fully allocated and will happily just ride out any storm that comes at this moment in time. I think the main storm here is kind of this fear mongering. If you're doom scrolling on Twitter, probably not the best for your mental health, let's be honest. But a lot of the algo is now pumping out all this content, and they've kind of made a sitcom of a real serious thing. Obviously, people are losing their lives right now. Bearish humanity, bullish the coins with this one, but people de-risking because they think World War III is potentially coming, and that's kind of a sexy rhetoric that gets a lot of clicks. Elon says huge altcoin capitulations across the board. S&P is near all-time highs. Status quo remains, with the US and Israel just dominating the Middle East, and it looks unlikely that others will get involved in this one. And this requires a huge amount of money to facilitate these kind of operations. I think even sustaining of the military action and the Iron Dome from the Israelis costs like 260, I think it was million per day, which is an incredible sum of money. So you can just imagine how much money is being spent here, and this is going to push up, obviously, global M2. I think it is kind of a reason why they're able to print as well, because this is the most profitable business in the world, is war, which is rather bearish on humanity, as I've already stated. This one's the kind of one I've been going to for any updates, rather than flicking through the timeline, just see if there's anything major happens. Obviously, it would make sense if things seriously escalate to be aware of that, but I'm kind of in the camp of they're dominating the Iranians at this point, and they're probably waiting for some form of surrender and agreements to be signed regarding nuclear weapons. But we don't want to LARP as macro experts, but this is the kind of page Spectator Index that has been providing some useful information. But the kind of social media battle you're seeing between like IDF pages and then Iranian pages on Twitter, clearly they're creating like these banners and, you know, things, propaganda for the media. It's just rather sad to see. Today we have 8 hours time until the FOMC, which is a shoe-in for no rate cuts this time round. But the next one is 30th of July. So maybe in today's FOMC, we'll actually hear of Jerome giving some forward guidance on the future of rate cuts here, which must come surely, if not July, by September at the latest. A lot of people are saying he's going to be too slow to cut yet again. Most of the numbers now very much in alignment with rate cutting cycle getting the green light. I wonder if he'll play the kind of war card here as well. But overall, this is the key takeaways from Raoul, who's pretty much saying ignore the news cycle, the narrative. It's all noise out there regarding what's happening in the Middle East, which is the dominant headline in the market right now. Look behind that. Genius Act. Huge amounts of money printing will ensue. And if you do follow this chart, which is global M2 with a 12-week lead over Bitcoin, it looks like we're in this period where it's like a pullback into full send towards BTC going to like 140s, 150s, 160s here over the coming 3 months, which is pretty incredible. So obviously you don't want to sell your bags and then watch things rip in front of you and have to buy back in higher. So stay calm. Stack sats is probably the message. Just hodl the bags and we'll see where we end up. But there's not a lot to do at this moment in time. Enjoy your summer. Don't spend too much time on Twitter, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace, guys.